you can take something two ways. You can make it transactional or you can make it relational. And I think that just knowing how much and how important what social media actually is, which is relationship building, I think for us, when you have that recognition and awareness, then you're immediately breaking down walls. You don't look at it of like, why should we be doing it? You know why you need to be doing it, because it's important to like have these interactions. We connected over social media.
Over, I think, like an Instagram DM. Yep.
For sure. So like this was an opportunity that arrived because of being present and opening your network.
All right, so Ashli, I'm dying to know, and this is one of the reasons I even wanted to create this series, is let's really get practical under the hood and tips, things you've learned from Facebook Live, Instagram Stories, what's evolving with all these platforms, IGTV, all this crazy stuff. Yeah. What is your favorite piece of gear, device, platform, management thing? Like, if there was one thing, like, don't take this away from me, and it could be a platform, a piece of gear, what would that be and why?
So the best thing I think about the two platforms that we focus on with Instagram and Facebook, they both come with embedded analytical options. So you literally can, if you're a business page on Instagram or Facebook, you can literally see the insights and how like your post and what the content you're putting out, how it's performing. Yeah. I think that is the most useful tool. There are outside like third-party apps that you can like track following and all of these different things. But for me, like the most useful that I find is through the insights. Okay. So we aim for 5 to 10% engagement on the posts that we put out. So like 10% engagement, we have 15,000 followers. So it's really great if every single post that you're putting out is getting 10%. If you're over 10%, for us that would be about 1,500 interactions. Yeah. Then you're doing extremely well. If you're getting 10%, that's really great. Even 5% is like really solid. So for us, that is our aim at getting that 5 to 10% rule of thumb.
So is that a metric you guys have come up with? Because I know over the last 2 years with Facebook organic algorithm declining and Instagram back in the day was upwards of 20. I know brands, anything over 4.5, 5, like you allude to. Is that your metric that you've read about, or a metric that you guys have come up with over the last couple of years? Like, hey, we know a post or content is doing well if it falls in there.
I know it's doing well when it falls in there. I do obviously absorb information and watch like other people's like what they're learning.
You set your own benchmark and you've looked at data.
Absolutely, for us, cool. And that's like based off of the tracking. So the insights, like I know that something's doing well and is seen by a solid amount of our following when we see those type of engagement numbers. So it is just a metric. You never know if only 30 people see it, the type of outcome you'll get. So it's worth doing no matter what. And you're going to have post or content that you put out. That's better to put out content than nothing. And you may not see exactly like those numbers reached, but that's for us something like in terms of what we aim for, that is an aim for us. I think a good usage for when we're posting, and I can kind of show you like more detailed, using hashtags is a great way to reach more audience or having kind of visibility within certain posts. So we post in the first comment, probably about 10 hashtags on average, 5 local, so like Drink Maryland, Visit Maryland, just Maryland itself, Maryland wine, and then 5 more popular hashtags. So if that's like United States or 4th of July,
4th of July,
like anything like that, which is more of a popular hashtag.
Carroll County or whatever.
Blending the two we've seen the most benefit from. So we kind of split the difference on that.
So you guys do first comment, because I know a lot of people I meet and a lot of people we're doing training with, it's like, do you embed it in the copy? Do you put it first comment? Do you leave it up for 40 hours and you delete it? But I love that you are using adjacent hashtags or popular hashtags, because I think people are like stuck in their own industry. But you know, I know there's another winery I followed, they use Visit Virginia, Explore VA, like Weekend Virginia. So it's like when people are visiting Maryland or Virginia or DMV, they might stumble upon like Explore DMV and all of a sudden they're coming to your winery, right? So if real quick, if you could just tell me more about it and break that down for people of like why they should not just use industry hashtags in their space, but find 5, 10, 15 adjacent ones. Why is that important?
It's the same reason of like speaking jargon only in your industry. Only people in your industry will know and see it and visibility. So I think when you are using hashtags that more people are using and are familiar with, then that's a good way to have the visibility and someone to find your page, to end up landing on your page. So for us, using other hashtags that are not clickbait or not a tag that you don't like, because there's totally that balance of like,
don't do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to use, I don't know, posting wine and like hashtag craft beer or something. I don't know, something like that's totally like, well, we could because it's still
like unless
industry.
there was a can of beer and a can of wine, like then it makes sense.
Sure, but yeah, exactly. But saying that like not misrepresenting
just to
what
get
it is.
Followers or
sure.
clicks. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But using things that make sense and relate to the time and the product or service that you're doing.
So Instagram analytics, Facebook analytics is something if that's one thing that you couldn't do without. That's actually going into this, I didn't expect that you would give that like analytics, and I just didn't, I thought it was more on feel and things like that. So it's so cool to hear that you guys as a winery are putting much emphasis on analytics and engagement rate than just kind of testing and putting out content.
Yeah, well, I
So
said,
awesome.
I mean, we take it seriously of like
awesome.
what we're doing, but it's always like it is fun and it is based on like feeling of like what are people reacting to and engaging, but at the same time like knowing the North Star, knowing like what's working and what doesn't. So yeah, and then in terms of like features of like actually paid, anything paid advertisement or boosting of promotions, I think it's a good rule of thumb for any business. If you're getting a notification from a platform, Instagram or Facebook, saying this post is performing 85% better than your other post, you should boost it. Yeah. That is Facebook telling you this is of high interest to your other population of people that would want to see it. So if you're getting those notifications, that's a really easy way to recognize that that is content that should be seen by more people.
Is there anything you think viewers should know about, like whether it's the back end of paid ads manager doing hyper-targeted ads or boosting a post? Is there any tip, trick, or insight that you try to like live by when you do that, so you're just not flushing $100 or $1,000 down the toilet? Because I know a lot of people like they're like, well, I spent money and I don't know if it did anything.
Yeah.
So how do you measure like what to spend, how to do it, and is there any insight you would share?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have definitely recognized, just based off of our own insights, based on what you put out, that smaller dollar amounts in more increments is a better way to do it, rather than just putting $500 over a 3-day period. If you put $100 out for a 3-day period, another $100 out for a 3-day period, you're getting a lot better traction within that money that is spent. And then also you can take advantage of like auto-generated target market that Instagram or Facebook pick
like
for you.
Like lookalike audiences or
yeah,
yep.
exactly. Followers or friends of your followers.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Or you can do your own target demographic, which for us, we take advantage of like the actual manual. For us being alcohol, you really have to get those parameters of the age right, of being over 21. Yeah. And then there's a certain market that we have kind of found that like fits really well between like 25 and 55 for us in terms of like what we're actually targeting.
Makes sense. You are doing all this, everything we've talked about, everything people have watched, you're doing all this with what I can tell, a couple people, a lot of time, but like I don't see a Cadillac of social media tools.
Yeah, we don't have that.
So like, is this really like, is this what you're doing all this storytelling with?
Yes, yeah. So literally, I have a Canon Rebel T3 that I got for Christmas from my brother probably 4 years ago.
Okay, so we're talking at least 4 or 5 year old camera.
Yep, absolutely.
So you take this, I've noticed you do like when you go to NYC to share your wine, you're doing it there, you're road tripping, you're doing stuff in the vineyard. This is a majority of your video content or vlogs is coming from this guy.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, so you get more comfortable kind of like self-introing a video and filming other people. And then the phone is extremely valuable in being able. Yeah, everyone has a phone, so anyone can document.
Excuses.
Exactly. And then in terms of like what we use for Facebook Live, we film off of the phone to stream live on a tripod. Or tripod, excuse me, and then we just use an iPad with the downloaded app to be able to engage with the comments and see things like live time.
So you're not using a camera, you're using your phone, which
Correct.
is perfectly fine. A lot of people do that. So then how are you syncing that up? What app are you using so you're able, from your iPad, you're able to look at like views, comments, and things like that, what people are saying?
Yep, absolutely.
So what app are you using?
So you can be logged in on a business page from multiple phones.
So you have the Facebook app there, and you're just logged in the same time, and you're basically
Correct.
watching.
Yeah.
the
So
same
this is
thing.
filming live time from our page, and then this is
Seeing
actually
the
commenting
live stream that's posted.
Exactly. Yeah. So you just need the Facebook app on both, and then you're able to like live time interact and have conversations with people.
So I've seen people go stone cold on a Facebook Live. People that could talk to 1,000 people, very, very charismatic. I've tried a 30-day Facebook challenge back in May, and like it was tough to do every single day. You guys are doing it once a week, but tips or tricks, things that if somebody's like, I watched Old Westminster's series or episode, maybe I should try Facebook Live, or I could do something similar to what they're doing in my space. Is there 1, 2, or 3 tips that you would give them? Whether it's setting it up, managing it, or then distributing it afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, number one, I would say do it. I think that more people need to do it. And I have friends in other industries, like even if they're a calligrapher and they're trying to kind of break out in terms of like the content that they're putting out, it would be so fantastic for someone to be able to kind of connect with you as the teacher or instructor, learn something. You can get on and do like, here's 3 tips in something to practice this week. Any type of like valuable,
see it in real time.
learnable, and then see it live time. You can interact live time. You can learn about your customers extremely well through Facebook Live. So what they're interested in, we fish questions all the time just because like we're genuinely curious of like, what do you guys think if we start doing food and wine pairings? And seeing like the reactions, you can really kind of like test market in that way. Yep. Other tips and tricks, again, if it is getting good engagement, you can take advantage of the boost just to try it. I think it's good to kind of see what happens from something like that. And then other than that, it's like a super low key.
Super low budget, yeah.
Yeah, super low budget. You need your phone. You don't even need 2 devices because you can go live time from 1 device. Otherwise, definitely worth a try.
It's very interesting because I think what people need to realize is you have 2 different audiences. You have the audiences that are watching live or come back to it, and then you have the people that are watching it later in the day or later at night or when you boost it.
Yeah.
So I think you can't be afraid of it, but I'm curious has there been a time where you've experimented? So I've watched a few, I haven't watched them from the beginning, and I'll be honest, but are you testing anything with that, like time, like, hey, we're gonna do it in 5 minutes, an hour, or we're gonna do it somewhere outside of our wine? Like, are you testing anything to mix it up, or is it just at a picnic table and it's 30 minutes long? Yeah,
so it's both of those things because like at the end of the day, we're committed to doing the show. And so if that means like literally-
Even if you can just squeeze it in.
Anywhere, anywhere, it's great. And then we do we've totally seen feedback when you change backdrops. So like going to different locations around the farm, you get new engagement, new comments, people that have been watching, it keeps it fresh for them. And then duration of time, we have found that like over 30 minutes is when you have the most visibility. So if you're only on there for 3 or 4 minutes, 7, 8 minutes, you're really not, the longer you're on, the more people that you're able to connect with. You gotta
kind of wait a little bit. It's
you
like
have to
starting
let
an
it
event,
build.
you gotta wait. Everybody's not gonna show up at 6 o'clock.
Exactly. No one's on time for wine for dinner. We're not even on time all the time. So we found that over 30 minutes is the best time duration of that. And the best way to go over 30 minutes is to get people to ask you questions. And literally, like, we tell people, like, hey, this show is so much fun. We love when you ask questions. Like, ask us anything, business, family, wine related. It can literally be anything. So telling people, like, what to expect and telling people, like, how to engage, oftentimes that can be a huge help. Planning out what you're going to be talking about and having questions prepared.
Yep. So a little bit of a script, whether it's written down or in your mind.
Yeah, totally. And at this point, a year and a half later for us, like, we just have it in our mind of like what questions do well, of like, where are you guys watching from? We want to know like where people are tuning in from.
DMV area.
And oftentimes we have people outside of that. Or like, has anyone tried the new X wine? Just like questions like that to start getting the engagement is really, really good to just have like in your mind so that when you start, you don't freeze.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I want to kind of end with a few rapid fire questions or kind of quick thoughts, things that come to your head. But a lot of people might be like, okay, it's wine, it is romantic, it's easy to kind of like open up a bottle, do a Facebook Live, but I'm in this industry, or I'm a marketing person and I'm like, I don't know what to do, whether it's Facebook Live, Instagram, YouTube, video, pictures. What would be your thing if somebody being like, well, yeah, that's easy because it's wine? Like, what would be an advice or maybe something new to try?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would say wine is really hard from an unknown region, from a burgeoning region to kind of change minds about. But it is a fun product, so there is kind of a looseness with it in terms of like being able to talk about it. But any industry, I think people want to know like why is it important, and turning wine from just like an alcoholic beverage to something that has a sense of place and community and culture, there's more meaning, there's more communication that needs to happen than just, you know, doing easy ways of like putting out visual content or Facebook Lives. Like there is actually like intentionality behind it. So I think anyone that can communicate the why of what they're doing immediately, you're going to have people that relate or have an interest in that. So I don't think it's the amount of people that are engaged, it's if it's the right people that are engaging.
Just need a handful of people. For
sure, and if it's the right people that are engaging with you that have the interest in what you're doing, then that's all you need.
So I think a lot of people watch this, so you could do a couple of things. What I'm hearing you say, start with like what's the why of your business, organization, or whatever, but maybe give access or things that people wouldn't see or normally hear about. And maybe what are people inquisitive or curious about your organization or your product or your business, right? So kind of show that stuff that you wouldn't see. Like the thing I would say is like, how can you open up the social media people of your company or your organization? I think you guys are doing that awesome.
Thanks.
What is your social media superpower?
Social media superpower.
Could be you or the winery in general.
Goodness, that's a good question.
We're getting near the end. That's why I wanted to end kind of with a thoughtful, tough question.
Yeah, that is a tough question. I think just like making something relational. You can take something two ways. You can make it transactional or you can make it relational. And I think that just knowing how much and how important what social media actually is, which is relationship building. I think for us, when you have that recognition and awareness, then you're immediately breaking down walls. You don't look at it of like, why should we be doing it? You know why you need to be doing it because it's important to like have these interactions. We connected over social media.
Over I think like an Instagram DM. Yep.
For sure. So like this was an opportunity that arrived because of being present and opening your network. So for that, I guess the awareness of importance, I don't know.
I think it comes back to where we started this is like you have something you want to share. And it's not just the wine, it's your venue, it's your family, it's what you're creating. And I think that's what social media can do. It's not just like you being on your phone 24/7, but then you connect and get people here and it's like you have the punch, you have this, like the sizzle, be like we have good people, good wine, good space, and a good family.
Yeah, so, thanks.
All right, so Ashli, to kind of wrap this up is a lot of people that I think will be watching this and kind of are in my ecosystem, they are either scared to just even pick up a camera and talk to it or do a Facebook Live or open up their kind of a little bit more about them or their business. And I think the second group of people are like, yeah, I know social media is important. I know how to do it. I want to do it, but my organization or boss just may not respect it or give me the resources or digital leash to do it. What advice would you give to those people that like, what ammunition could they come back to like, this is why we need to do it, or this is what we could start with? Yeah,
so a couple things. The first is that everyone starts somewhere.
Yep. You guys started with zero.
We started with nothing, and it does take time to build that. So I think starting something is the best way to begin it and to kind of like start seeing if that's something that will be a good fit. And then also in terms of like if someone believes in it or if an owner or boss of an organization thinks that it will be useful or not. When I started the YouTube channel, that was something that my siblings were both kind of like, I don't see how that's going to be useful turning like this more vlog style going in this direction. And it ended up being like a really good way of connecting and showing behind the scenes. Not only was it fun for us to like, it's documenting and we can look back on it later to see like where it comes, but immediately when you see the value, I think that can change minds. So even if it's starting something on the side and then being able to kind of like showcase or what other people are doing on social media within that same industry. So yeah, it doesn't matter age. Start somewhere and you can kind of show and see the traction that takes place over time.
Yeah, and I think the vlog of what you're doing, I don't see any really other winery or craft beer doing that. Like, and it's very trendy. It probably attracts a younger culture. So I think that's great. Start somewhere. And I think the last thing I wanted to say is thank you for actually physically opening the doors to your winery, and what you guys and your family have created is just awesome, beautiful. Again, I love following you guys. I think more people need to to follow these guys just for inspiration. Like even if you don't live in the Maryland area, I think you can learn a lot from what you and your siblings and your coworkers are doing. But what, to the viewers, you could talk to camera or whatever, what should they know about you guys? What are you promoting, or where can they find you if they ever visit Maryland?
Yeah, if you're ever in Maryland, come by and visit us. We have a tasting room where you can come and try some of the wines that we're creating that really reflect our area. It's a fun time. We have food trucks and live music every weekend. So connect with us online. Instagram is @Old Westminster Winery, and Facebook is the same.
Cool. Well, Ashli, thank you so much for inviting us in here. And I hope a lot of what we put together here and that you guys are watching is super helpful.
Thank you. After 2 years of sourcing and creating wines, we were able to release our first bottle of wine. And we started.
So cool.
Oh, so cool. At first, you have to remind yourself that you need to have that outlet and use that outlet, but eventually you see the actual benefit that comes from it, and then it becomes a second nature.